So the situation with Elon Musk and Tesla is actually way worse than I thought. Now, I'm not surprised, but I'll just say it was way worse than I thought. And let me show you guys the headlines here. Tesla's EU sales slump continues as Chinese rivals thrive. And basically, Tesla sales are down about 34%, depending on how you want to count it. Last November, they sold about 18,000 cars in a month. This year, they're selling about 12,000 cars a month. You can see the numbers right there. You also got this. Tesla sales fall across Europe, again, as BYD surges. Now, it depends how you want to count this. I guess if you just look at the EU, it says sales are down, or registration is a better way to say it, 34.2%. And I guess if you look at the wider EU, so be it EU, Britain, European Free Trade Association, they're saying registrations are down 11.8%. So basically, they're struggling. Their market share is also going down from 2.1% to 1.4%. Basically, people don't like Elon, and you can see it in the numbers. And in comparison, look at BYD numbers. They're actually soaring. BYD grew its sales in EU, EFTA, and the UK by 221%. And basically, in 1 month, last year, they did about 6,000 sales, registrations, however you want to call it. And then this year, it's 21,000. So they're almost doubling up of Tesla, and their growth is just through the roof. You can see it right there. And some of the Tesla people say, well, just no one's buying cars right now, or no one wants these kind of cars. And that's actually not true. At least according to this, it says battery electric cars accounted for 16.9% of the EU market share. So that's actually pretty significant. And that's up from 13.4%. So more people are buying these things effectively. And they're buying them in Spain, France, Germany, and Italy. They're just not necessarily as interested in the Teslas as they were before, because there's more competition. So not just from the Chinese manufacturers, but also from the Korean manufacturers. You guys know I'm here in Korea, and I didn't even know this. This is news today to me too. Hyundai is about to unveil its biggest EV yet, but that's not all. And basically, they got a bunch of models coming out. At least according to this, I'll read it. It says, Hyundai is preparing to go on the offensive in 2026 with several new models set to arrive. And I didn't know it was like more than one. With less than a month ago, Hyundai previewed its biggest EV yet, claiming it will showcase state-of-the-art electric technology, including an advanced 800-volt charging system. So I'm kind of curious where they're going to go. And they're saying new stuff from the Inster to the Ioniq 9. Inster is also known as the Casper, which is a cute little car. And in fact, there's a 2-year waiting list to get that thing because it's just really high demand. So you got BYD, you got Hyundai, and there's a bunch of other brands that I could go into, but I'll just say the competition is absolutely crushing Tesla in terms of growth, and Tesla's declining. And so what does Elon Musk do these days? He makes these wild promises. So this was back in October. Look at the headline. Elon Musk said Tesla's robot will be incredible surgeon. Left Wall Street with no guidance on the EVs. And if you follow this stuff, guidance just means, you give a kind of a prediction of what you think your, sales figures or revenue is going to be on your cars. And he's not giving any. And so basically the whole scam for Tesla now is like, hey, we're not really a car company. We're actually a robot and an AI company, because they're absolutely getting crushed in cars. Here's some quotes from Elon back in October. He said, people just don't quite appreciate the degree to which this will take off. Okay. Where it's going to be like a shockwave. We have millions of cars out there with the software update, become full self-driving cars, and we're making a couple of million a year. That's according to Elon. And then they'll talk about the robot. It says, Optimus says Tesla's bipedal humanoid robot that's in development, but not yet commercially deployed, so he's not even selling these things. Musk has previously said the robots will be so sophisticated that they can serve as factory workers or babysitters. Wow, Elon, fantastic. Now he's raising the bar, and here's a quote from Mr. Elon. Optimus will be an incredible surgeon. You can actually create a world where there is no poverty, where everyone has access to the finest medical care. So Elon's promising you he's going to solve poverty. They're going to have robot babysitters, factory workers, and now surgeons. And anyone who has any sort of sense of, what I would say, if you have any intelligence whatsoever, you can tell that Elon's a liar. I'll put it that way. Or you can see Elon. He's basically like that kid that always, has some fable or lie of how the dog ate his homework. That's basically Elon. He also got this. He's got challenges from GM now. It says one of Elon Musk's old enemies joins the race to run GM. And I guess they're going to do some leadership changes over there. And this particular guy is an interesting one. His name is Sterling Anderson. And I think he used to work at Tesla being head of like their autopilot division. And he left. And Elon sued the guy, accused him like, oh, you're stealing our technology, whatever. And I'll just say this. Elon likes to sue people. And ultimately, he's making more enemies than friends. And I wouldn't sleep on GM either. I mean, you never know what these people are going to come up with because, as things keep going forward, Elon would always say, we're going to be the best. We're so awesome. But it just doesn't appear to be that way because, this is what's in Bloomberg today. I told you about this before, but we got more information on it. 15 people have died in crashes where Tesla doors wouldn't open. And I told you guys about this stuff before. Basically, they're unsafe. And just think about this. It's like, do you want someone like Elon designing products or whatever, and he doesn't care about people. He just cares about the bottom line or about his ridiculous visions of the future. So, for example, this is interesting. He says, there are no comprehensive publicly available statistics from any state or federal agency on how many people have been trapped by inoperative doors and subsequently died. Gathering reliable data is complicated in part because it can be difficult to know with certainty what happened in the frantic moments between when a vehicle crashed and when it was engulfed in flames. And the reason I'm reading this to you is because for Elon's point of view, he'll try to hide this data as much as possible. So this was actually a pretty big story coming out of Bloomberg. It was just yesterday, right? 15 people have died in crashes, and that's sort of what they've come up with. And there was the other big part of the story, which you kind of knew, but this hasn't necessarily previously been reported. I'll just read it. It says, Elon Musk's fateful Tesla door handle directive. And basically, long story short, Elon Musk's choices of putting, style over safety got people hurt. That's basically what it boils down to. And let me read it. It says, some of which included CEO Elon Musk, talking about the decisions early on. Some engineers argued for mechanical handles, raising concerns about the potential safety hazards of electric systems, right? If everything's electric, you don't have anything mechanical. What happens if you have a power failure and you're trapped in the car, right? According to the accounts of multiple people in those discussions, Tesla already was fielding a rash of customer complaints that sensors in the doors and just launched Model X SUV were faulty. This was back in the earlier days of Tesla, right? Musk's directive was clear. Virtually everything in the new vehicle, including the doors, should be controlled electronically through a push of a button or tap of a touchscreen, according to people who asked not to be identified discussing private conversations, right? So these are insiders. The CEO, talking about Musk, admired how Apple had created a simple, software-driven touchscreen interface that was easier to use than the button-laden BlackBerry smartphone. And he wanted the Model 3 to have a similarly futuristic design, the people said, right? So Musk was copying a smartphone, essentially. And so if you ever wondered why, when you get in a Tesla, my wife said the first time was like, it's like having a big iPad on the dashboard. And that's effectively what it is. It's actually kind of interesting that he was trying to copy Apple, but it's not really great if all of the stuff you need to do for your car is, on the screen and you're removing as many mechanical parts as possible. What if, there's a failure? And here's some more. Says this philosophy of simplification to the extreme that designers should remove every possible element of the product that could break or malfunction was crystallized in a comment by Musk in one of those meetings. The best part is no part, and that's according to Musk. So they're always figuring out ways to cut out stuff. And this is where, ultimately, people aren't going to want these products if they're not safe. And as Musk is getting more and more influence in the government, this poses a real danger for all of us. Now, let's be frank with you guys, because that's his general philosophy. He's got these weird visions of the future, and it's not necessarily about practicality. It's just whatever, stupid rockets he wants to blow up, because he says we're all going to go to Mars. Great. This is Ross Gerber, who's like a, finance dude. And he's like, it's quite possible that Tesla will never make a GAAP profit ever again. That's certainly a possibility. And what's Elon Musk doing today? I just checked his feed. He's complaining about colleges and education. Of course he is. So this is from Elon. Elon says, literally 0 Republicans in 30 Yale departments when half the country is Republican is truly outrageous bigotry, right? So he's mad there's not enough Republicans on college campuses. And this is the kind of stuff he tweets out all the time. It's basically faulty logic because you can easily pick this stuff apart. I was a professor. I know how this game is played. I mean, and this is what a real conversation is. Okay, so one conclusion here, if you say, okay, there's no Republicans at Yale, just make it simple. One conclusion would be, oh, Yale hates Republicans, right? So if you want to be that conclusive with Musk, that's what he would think, okay? Another way to think about it is like, well, what if it turns out that people are, say, more right-leaning or more like Elon Musk, more Republican, don't really want to work at university. They don't want to be professors. Maybe they want to go into business. This is not something they're interested in. Maybe they're not interested in literature, right? They're not interested in history. They're just not interested in that stuff. That's not what they want to do. If you want to be more mean about it, you could just say, people who tend to be more Republican aren't particularly bright. I just, be a little mean about it, but I just say there are other explanations. And I for me, it's just like, I just think it's a combination of the couple that I just gave you. And it's true. The more intelligent you become, you don't really want to be part of the Trumper stuff. It's just not that hard to see. And it's also true. It's not just about intelligence. Some intelligent people have no morals. That is also real, right? You can be smart enough to understand that, Musk and Trump are scammers, but you have no morals, so you decide to go along with it. But regardless, though, that's the game that Musk always plays. He'll tweet out this sort of like, I get his point of view. I totally get it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Musk is a liar. I'll just be frank with you guys. And part of what I think is really great about education, and I encourage you guys for any of these things that we talk about in my videos, is to have an honest discussion about this stuff. Think critically. That's the goal of education, to be able to look at whatever facts and listen to other types of arguments and have real discussions about this stuff. Now, I knew that the robotaxi stuff was a scam, but it turns out it's an even bigger scam than I thought. Check this out. It says, Tesla's robotaxi project in Austin is much smaller than Musk claims. And long story short, there's like an engineering student at Texas A&M University who took one of the Tesla apps and reverse engineer it to figure out how many robotaxis are on the road. It's pretty crazy. It says, an engineering student managed to reverse engineer Tesla's robotaxi app and collect data that shows the autonomous but supervised ride-hailing system in Austin consists of no more than a few vehicles, around 5. It's like 1 to 5. So it's actually a pretty big deal because that means they're not running that many of these things. It's actually really exposes Tesla. I'll read more. However, the reality is that Tesla is barely operating its robotaxi in Austin, right? I guess according to him, there's only 32 total. McKenna's tracker has found 32 different Tesla Model Ys using the robotaxi network in Austin. It's far from 500, but it is in line with the previous claim of doubling the fleet. And I guess we even have the serial numbers of said things. It's pretty crazy. And I applaud the kid for figuring out this stuff. I had a hunch about these things. He also figured out they're not really operating in that many roads or that many areas, even though the area that they claim that they're operating is much bigger. It's just you're faking the robotaxi stuff. And remember, you still have a safety driver in there. So there's just not that many cars on the road. That's what it boils down to. And then Musk is now fishing for a bailout. This was news today. I guess he got a contract with the military. XAI. This is what it is, right? So it's like, okay, my Tesla's, basically failing. We're not a car company because all the other car companies are beating us. So I'm going to just pretend we're some sort of robotaxi company. But as you can see, the robotaxi data shows that they're not really doing much of anything, and they're not selling any robots, and they're so far behind everything. It's totally a scam. And so now they're hanging out with Pete Hegseth and getting the money over there. Musk's next move. This is from Fox News. It says the Pentagon announced a partnership with Elon Musk XAI to deploy Grok across government systems, giving millions of military and civilian personnel access to advanced AI tools for handling sensitive workflows. That doesn't sound good to me. Do you really want to give Elon Musk your sensitive workflows? I mean, that's what we're talking about. And supporting operations as early as 2026, so next year. The collaboration marks another chapter in Elon Musk's long-running relationship with government initiatives. Better way to say it, he's getting our tax dollars. And it's funny because Fox News, they love Elon and they love Trump and stuff like that. And this is the way they're, portraying. I'm just showing you the pictures that they're using. That's Elon right there. And some people were making jokes already. One person writes, we really went from X screenshots to national security clearance in record time. And I know, guys, it's actually not funny at all because, like, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely corrupt because by all accounts, you know, if you look at the AI companies and, you know, chatbots or whatever, they're doing this thing. Like Musk is consistently the worst one out of all of it. Like if you're going to do this stuff, they announced before, Hexeth was saying it was Google, but now I guess we're also doing XAI. And I guess, you know, whoever buddies with Trump and gets in bed, I guess you get a contract. So that's, if you're curious what Elon Musk is good at, he's good at marketing. He's good at, well, I don't want to say good. I'll just say he continues to tell whatever, you know, nonsense, bogus projections of Mars bases and robot babysitters and factory workers and people, you know, tweeting out, you know, pictures of Terminator. But, you know, there's real warning signs here because this is also in the news today. Look, Germany's far-right AfD accused of gathering information for the Kremlin. And if you remember, Elon Musk was interviewing people from the AfD party in Germany. And I guess this dude, and if you guys are in Germany, you can let me know who this is. It just says far-right German politician Ringo Mollmann has taken a noteworthy interest in exposing information his political opponents say could be great interest to Russian intelligence. Okay. And then I guess this guy was asking for local drone defenses and Western arms transports to Ukraine, getting all the information on said things. And this is a real problem for me if Musk is supporting, say, these, you know, AfD right-wing people, and if you know that his AI chatbot thing has a history of saying this whacked out stuff, and you can easily find the stuff that he says, I'll just say it's crazy, is Musk. I don't want Musk to be handling our sensitive information, let alone military information and, you know, stuff that requires national security, a clearance. It's awful. And then sort of what dictates our policy in the USA these days is, you know, people like Musk. And so then you get this down the headline. U.S. bans new China-made drones, sparking outrage among pilots. And basically this really takes a big hit to DJI. And if you're in the camera space or the drone space or the action cam space, you'll know what DJI is. Effectively, they moved ahead of GoPro, and the other one is the 360 cams. I think it's Insta360. I know because I have a DJI. They work really, really good. In fact, I'm on my third DJI, and I'm not the only one who uses this stuff. Everyone uses it basically, even the White House. So I guess we're banning these things that even the White House has been using. This is a video that I showed you guys before. There's Carolyn Levitt. She's wearing a DJI mic. This is presumably using DJI cameras. And I'll just say this. What happens is basically, you know, people like Musk or whatever American companies try to block these, you know, products from entering because they'll just basically destroy and eat up market share. It's obvious. I'll be curious if BYD ever comes to the USA. My bet that it will be, you know, Ford, Chevy, Tesla, whatever, will trying to block these things. The same way that literally we got a ban on the DJI, you know, cameras and drones. So that's what's going on. I'd like to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next video.